Hey everyone, welcome to the Modern Day Investor Podcast. I'm Mark Robinson, CEO and co-founder of the International Academy of Wealth with my amazing wife, Billy. Now, if you haven't already, guys, I would love for you to subscribe or click on the like button, depending on what platform you like to watch or listen to me on. And I'm really excited, right? We're starting to get down to the pointy end, everything that we've spoken about so far about, the 2 data points, the 4 P blueprint, the UAP, the financial, the ultimate wealth acceleration plan, and talking about how you actually allocate capital and what have you. Now, this episode's going to be all about building your perfect portfolio. And first and foremost, right, let's make sure, again, disclaimer, because I'm going to be talking about asset allocation and what have you. So as always, guys, this is always just for education or purposes only. I am not a licensed financial planner at all. Those of you that will listen to the first one, I did have a license for about 13 years and I decided to hand it back just so I could speak the truth, right? And it's a harsh way to say it, but it's just how it is. Financial planners, they do have their purpose. They have, they have their place. And ultimately, I'm okay with it, right? And you should seek advice, right? Actual licensed advice. The hardest part for them in the industry, though, is the fact that, they can only give you advice on the products that they're licensed to, right? Their approved product list. So that's the part that's tough, right? So how do you get advice? Now, I believe that those that seek advice are also, seeking for someone to blame, but those that are seeking education are seeking responsibility for those decisions. So the best thing that you can do is get educated, right? And I'm grateful that you guys have listened to me, and you've either been on a number of our events or, webinars or live events, whatever the case may be. And that we're really passionate about education and helping people become responsible, right? And gaining that clarity and that confidence to do so. And that allows you to build your perfect portfolio. So how do we do this, right? How do we build our perfect portfolio? Especially when, you might be afraid of losing control over your finances, or, you feel you don't have enough disposable income, or, you've seen people lose money in investments before. Well, here's the thing that we've found, right? That if you allocate your capital correctly, even when you take some losses, right, it doesn't crash you. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, that, you want to make sure that when something hits, right, you want to make sure that it steers the ship, not sinks it. And most people, if they have big losses in their portfolios, because they haven't allocated the capital correctly, right, and they've got and it's sunk their ship, or it's severely damaged it, that it's going to take a while before it can go out there and sail the seas again. And that's something that you've really got to understand when it comes to building your perfect portfolio. Getting that capital allocated correctly is going to save you, so thousands of dollars. It could even be hundreds of thousands of dollars. But more importantly, it's going to save you time. Right? It's the one thing we can't buy more of, generally. Yeah. So that's what it's really key. So you've now got the foundations in place. You have your 2 data points. You've got, exactly where you are, and exactly where you want to be, right? You've got that target, all right? You've got those 2 things. Now it's about building the portfolio that does it. You then start to allocate your capital into the asset classes that we talk about in the wealth pyramid, right? Foundational assets, wholesale assets, focused asset sector, active trading, wholesale cash flow, and early stage investment or early stage income. Now, you don't have to have an allocation of capital in every single asset class, right? So Billy and I haven't had any capital allocated in the focused asset sector for many, many years. It's not something that we're totally focused on or even have an inclination to get into at any point soon. Now, I used to be able to say that I wouldn't have any in the active trading either, but Billy and I, we've decided to actually, get educated on trading, and we're going to actually have a part of our portfolio allocated for active trading. Yeah. So our pyramid used to be sort of like short and fat. Now it's going to get a little bit taller when we start to allocate that in the near future. So once you've got your capital allocated, right, and you can have different. It doesn't have to be even either, right? So quite often what you'll find is if you have a low capital base, putting most of your money in the top half of the pyramid, which is where most of the cash flow is, you start to generate the cash flow, and then you take the cash flow from that and you bring it down the pyramid and start to build out your foundations. Or you might be like a property investor. You've got one or maybe two or more properties, right? But you still have to turn up on Monday to feed your portfolio. Again, it might just mean a little bit of a capital that needs to be allocated from either selling a property, and I'm not telling you to sell a property, right? Or selling a property, or, pulling a little bit of equity out and then moving it to the top of the pyramid and start to generating cash flow from there. Now, I hope that all making sense. As always, if none of this is making sense right now, that is okay, right? You can reach out to us and we'll gladly explain it further, yeah? Then once you've got that, then you go and find the strategy that suits you. And that is so critical for you to understand. So what's always happened in the past is you would go and, you think about, I'm going to go into property investing. So you go to someone who's in property and they'll sell you property, right? You go to someone who's in share trading, they'll sell you share trading software or share trading solution, crypto, so on and so on. What happens now is that you've got a percentage of your capital that's to be allocated for a strategy, and then you can go to someone. Now, this is what those experts will love about it, right? If you go to a property expert and say, I've got this much capital, I'm looking for this type of return, this much capital growth, right? It's gonna save them a ton of time. They're gonna know that you're serious. They're going to know that you're educated. You can make decisions. You can even go far into let them know what your money rules are. Don't send me any deals if they're in this criteria. And they're just going to love you, right? They're going to go, holy crap, this is cool. So you save time, they save time, right? And you get the property that suits you, not what they're trying to sell you. Yeah, and it's such a critical one. And the successes will be the success will come a lot easier, I believe, right? But also it'll help you grow faster because you've got the strategy that's worked for you. And it's really, really keen for you to understand that. The other part, guys, is you can also have, multiple strategies going on at the same time. Like once you start your property, as as the example, right? Once you go to your expert and say, hey, I want a certain property. Well, now you've got time. Then you can go into and start your crypto strategy, or your wholesale cash flow, or your wholesale assets, or learn to trade, right? Whatever it may be, and then you allocate that. Now, the other thing to remember too is, if you've got $100,000 portfolio, you've got 20% of it allocated to wholesale cash flow, that doesn't mean that you have to put 20 grand into one strategy or the 20 grand into multiple strategies straight away. Yeah, it's okay to have your capital sitting on the sideline or parts of your capital sitting on the sideline until you're ready. Until you're ready to invest, or an opportunity actually comes your way, right? That suits what you want. My amazing wife, she talks about JOMO, right? The joy of missing out, rather than FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? So many people get burnt because they're scared they're going to lose out on an opportunity, right? They jump in, they didn't have their money rules set, they didn't allocate the capital correctly. There's so many conversations around that you just got to stop doing that. Yeah. So by building it all out, getting these foundational points in place, right? Like I said, the 2 data points, allocating your capital correctly, and you start to build out those scenarios, right? And this is why, if you turned around and said, oh, Mark, how do I know if I've allocated my capital correctly? Well, on the Ultimate Wealth Acceleration Plan, we have 10 years, like a tab for each year, right? And you build it out over 10 years, and you start to design a portfolio, and you start to utilize these you start to design it so that you go, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Yeah, what if property market goes down? Then you can start to go in year 2, you start to go, well, okay, well, that means that my portfolio would look like this. What if crypto went through the roof? Okay, in year 3, then my portfolio would look like this. And in year 4, I will reallocate capital accordingly. Yeah, so it's easier, it's safer for you to build out a 10-year scenario, right, and start to work out some of the what ifs. You can't work out all the what ifs, right? We have no idea what's going to happen in major markets next week, let alone next month, let alone 5-10 years from now. But it just gives you a sense of this is what's possible, right, if I follow a plan. I hope that makes sense, guys. It's just so important to really get that understanding, right? That before you invest in anything, you should build out a scenario, for at least 5 years, if not 10 years, to see what it would like. Will it help you get to where you want to be? Right? And that's the key there. You know that some strategies that you're in won't be around in 5 years. So therefore you've got to, in year 3, 4, or 5, take that capital and reallocate it somewhere else. Yeah. And it's so, like I said, I cannot stress enough that the biggest thing you can do is allocate your capital correctly. And that's going to avoid most of, right, the pain, or at least it'll avoid it. I believe it'll avoid your ship sinking, right, or at least you being on dry dock for many, many years. Yeah. So hopefully that was useful, guys. What I want to do in the next episode is I'm actually going to go through, right, templates that you can use, and I'm going to go step by step on how you can use a 50 grand plan, a 10 grand plan, but still use the concepts within those templates for a $500 plan, a $1,000 plan, a $500,000 plan, right? That to me, this type of investing in the modern day is a lot easier if you map it out and you have a plan and you focus on it and you get really serious about wanting to become financially free. So that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode. Look forward to sharing that information with you guys. As always, if there's anything you need from us, just reach out. We're here to help. Bye for now. None of this is advice, not even general advice. This is for entertainment purposes and education only. If you'd like to seek specific advice to your personal circumstances, we urge you to speak to a licensed financial professional.